everybody. Welcome to the podcast where we motivate, inspire, and drive with stories from entrepreneurs from around the country. That's right, folks. Straight from their mouths to your ears, this is Hustle City, USA.
Hey, what's up? It's Hustle City, and this is the Texas Real Estate Dude, and we're back on the podcast. We're going to follow up from last week's show, talking about your personal branding and figuring out who you are and why you are the person you are and do the things you do. And I'm back with Mr. John Altic. John, how the hell are you?
I'm good, bud. How about yourself?
Man, it's been a long week.
You know, I think when you run your own business, every week can be a long week. It's fun, but it's long.
You know, so I worked sort of over the weekend, and today's Tuesday again, and Monday, man, I was wiped out for some reason.
I love Mondays as long as they're sunny and I'm on the beach.
Right. Well, I had a good day Monday, but by Monday evening, I was like, man, I'm going to hit the couch and kind of do Netflix or something.
Yeah, I hear that.
It's kind of done, but back at it now. It's Tuesday, back in the swing and ready to get this next week going. And what's going on with you in your world?
Man, all is good. I've been thinking in depth about some of the conversations we had on the podcast last week, and we were talking about who are you? And I say this a lot, and I teach a class on this. I just recently taught a branding class where I kicked it off with who the heck are you? And had a whole room, 50-some people looking at me like I'm crazy.
That was out in Katy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was out in Katy. It was a really great one. But they look at me like I'm crazy because nobody asks you who you are at 35, 45, 55. And it takes a little bit for that to sink in. And sometimes I even have to ask myself, well, who am I? And I know I have a really good knowledge base of who I am. It's because I've been teaching this class for so long and I've been preaching this so long. But there are then times where you got to think to yourself, well, who I am must have changed a little bit since last week or last month or last year.
Right.
So it got me thinking a lot about, the podcast last week. And, sometimes we need to ask other people, who do you think I am?
So I had this conversation one time, and let's see what your response is to this. And it was something I was reading, and I don't recall the author. It wasn't in a book. It may have just been a blog post or something. But it said that people that would be known as poor or lower middle class or lower on the socioeconomic scale have a hard time defining who they are and why they do it. Someone that might be considered well-to-do or wealthy or, even a Richard Branson or something to that high level has no problem just laying it out. This is who I am. It's what I'm about. This is how I do it. And this is why I do it. And the response I got was, so rich people are better because they brag on themselves. And I was like, well, that's not bragging. That's being clear and being able to articulate who you are and what you stand for.
And I think it's self-awareness.
There you go. That's
right. Self-awareness. And you can probably have money and not be self-aware. And let me. Would you like to grow up being Michael Jordan's son? Because guess who you are? You're forever Michael Jordan's son.
Except you got to hook up on the shoes.
You do have some hookup on the shoes, right? But that guy, I guarantee you, doesn't know who he is because his whole life he's been somebody's son, right?
Yeah, that would be tough.
Think about these people that grow up behind the scenes with rich or famous. Don't even have to be rich, famous family members. Michael Jordan's son's worth how many millions of dollars? So he's obviously rich, but I guarantee you set the kid down, he has no idea who he is. Right. And so it may not be so much affluency as much as it is self-awareness. But you also see these, we both love success stories and we read them all the time. You think about the people that come out of the projects and to be fabulous business owners. And those are stories that when I read them,
those are the ones I like the best.
Oh man, you usually have a single mom living in a 1-bedroom apartment with 4 kids, and mom works 20 hours a day, and the kid comes out to be, just some amazing entrepreneur because they're driven. Those people know who they are, right? They know who they are. I'm fully convinced that you cannot be successful, and I mean truly successful, until you figure out who you are.
Right. Do you think that's an ever-evolving process, or you finally figure out, hey, I'm this, or this is the core, the crux of it, and that's what I'm going to run with?
No, I think in life we all evolve. I'm not the same person I was a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I'll give you a good example about that.
I'm not the same person I was this morning.
This is a true story. So I've always been handy. It's one of the things, I don't know
you
where
are, man. That's amazing.
I don't know where I got it. My dad's not handy. He can't swing a hammer. But I love to build things. I've always loved to remodel houses. How I got into real estate. I was a flipper. Well, I've also always liked cars, but I've never really worked on cars to speak of. And about 6-8 months ago, I bought a 66 step side and started restoring it. And one thing led to another, and it's a frame off restoration. I'm adding new front end, and I'm putting a motor in, and
You're doing a lot of that yourself?
I'm doing it all. I haven't hired anything done, and I'm changing out the
wow.
transmission from a manual to an automatic because nobody wants to drive a manual in Houston. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I also knew I could figure it out. So now I'm not just a handy guy with building things. I'm a turner wrench guy, right? So I'm different than I was, but I'm comfortable with it.
Right. Did it have all the original glass and everything?
Oh,
too?
yeah, it's all original. It's not going to be original when I'm done with it. I mean, I'm changing out everything. But you talk about I wasn't I don't call myself a mechanic. Maybe I am. I wasn't a wrench turner 6, 8, 10 months. 10 months ago, I wasn't a wrench turner. Now I'm a wrench turner. I've changed, and I'm comfortable with that change.
Right.
And taking that as an example, how many people, they get stuck doing something their whole life and they're afraid to take a chance, whether it's, changing out the faucet in their kitchen or taking a new job or starting a side hustle, they're afraid. And my wife asked me, like, do you know what you're doing with that truck? Because I've got it in a shop, a storage unit shop. Right. She has not seen it since I bought it. Thank God. She goes, do you know what you're doing?
Right now, right?
She goes, you know what you're doing? I go, absolutely. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know how to get on YouTube.
Right.
And she goes, so you're YouTubing how to tear a truck down and build it back? I was like, yeah, no, I'm pretty good at it now. And because we have this influx of knowledge in our society today, no other time in history have you been able to be really good at so many things by watching others tell you how to do it.
Oh, yeah, I'm learning so much. So I picked up guitar after years of being absent. And poor music instructors, man. I mean, I'm sure they still have a place, but you can pick up any lesson you want, probably on any instrument, right?
Oh, true. In YouTube and the internet has changed your knowledge base. Mm-hmm. If you're wanting to know something, you just Google it.
Right.
And I kind of crack up. So I'm watching some guy out of Oklahoma in his backyard that is putting these videos out here. I'm probably making him like $50 a day watching his videos because I got to watch three commercials in the mix of it, right? So, but he's doing what he loves to do, and I guarantee you, back to why this show is here. Mm-hmm. If I set him down and say, "Who are you?" and he's going to tell me, "I'm a really good mechanic,"
he would know exactly what he's doing, right?
And he's smart enough to film his stuff and put it on YouTube, or his son is, or somebody is, right?
He probably has several thousand, if not millions, of subscribers.
No, one video I was looking at the other day, it's got 117,000 views,
right,
on how to tear down like a
glove
transmission or something, right? I'm like, what are you doing? But that guy knows who he is.
Right.
And he's fully self-aware. That's what he knows he's a mechanic. He knows he's good at it. He knows that idiots like me are going to watch him, and he's going to make money doing it. He's not trying to be a carpenter.
Right.
He's not trying to build a house. Right. Because he knows that's not him. Right. So going back to this is like, gotta find out who you are, what makes you, what makes you tick. And it can change. If you don't like who you are, you can be anybody you want. I mean, that's the great thing about living in the United States.
Right.
If I don't like who I am, I can go try and be somebody else. It's hard.
That change is what makes people stumble, though, right? So like on last show, I admitted to I took the corporate America leap by just
quit cold turkey.
I pulled the ripcord and quit cold turkey, and then I didn't know if my parachute was going to open or not. In fact, I still think it's kind of tangled up and fluttering around out there. But I haven't hit the you haven't
hit the ground yet.
I haven't hit the ground yet.
Yeah, you're still floating out there somewhere. It is hard, and I think it's hard. Change is hard, and you also, I think, when you make the change, you got to be aware of who you are. I'm a talker. I can get up in front of people and talk. You could put 10,000 people in front of me. It wouldn't scare me a bit as long as I'm talking about things I know about.
Right.
But if you made me sit down and start writing, no, I'm not a writer. It's not who I am.
The words don't come out the same way.
No. You can't read my writing to start with.
Right.
Number two, my brain's faster than I can write, so I can keep up talking, but I can't keep up writing.
Right.
And therefore, if that was where I was going to, if I woke up tomorrow and said, I'm going to become a writer and I'm going to write every day, it would be a failure.
It would be a hard change for you, right?
It wouldn't make sense. It just wouldn't. It wouldn't. Right. And if I was forced to do it, probably I'd figure it out, but I wouldn't be happy about it.
Right.
It goes back to what you were talking about, leaving corporate America. And I know there's people watching or listening to this show that, they hate their job. They hate everything about their job. They hate getting up and going to work every morning, but they're scared. They've got a wife, 3 kids, 2 car payments, a dog, a parrot, and a turtle. Mm-hmm. they've got insurance to cover, and to make that change is not gonna. Doesn't come easy.
The stories that always, sort of pain my heart a little bit is when, that maybe they've been in that situation, or maybe they even like the job, right? And everything's going good, and then the company makes a decision for them.
That happened to me.
They either go out of business or they restructure, and you're almost forced to find something else, and you almost have to go kicking and screaming because you weren't planning on going anywhere.
Well, so again, we talked about it last time. We talked about it before. I spent 14 years with Hershey Chocolate. Great company. I mean, awesome. I wouldn't be here without them because they forced me out of my comfort zone. They moved my cheese, if you've ever read that book that's so popular, right?
I have read that.
My boss calls me and says, hey, I need to meet you at the airport tomorrow, and HR is going to be with me. That's not going to go well. There's nothing good going to happen there. And, we love you, John, but we're going to figure out what we're going to do without you tomorrow. Right. And, here's your severance, or you can move. Well, we weren't going to move. We had young kids. So they forced my hand to go do something that got me here.
Right.
And we talk about it a lot in my house. What if I was still working for Hershey? What if they'd never gotten rid of me? I wouldn't be here today.
No.
It's too comfortable. I'm going to be real honest. I'm not.
You would probably be missing some of your daughter's lives because you'd still be traveling.
I'd still be traveling. I'd be making, gosh, I don't even want to talk about how little money I would be making compared to what we're doing now, and not being true to myself, because it's really, really, really hard. So you also have to listen. And I commend you. You're like, you know what? I pulled the cord and jumped, and I had to make that decision myself. But it's a hard decision.
Yeah, and it wasn't perfect. I mean, it was a catastrophe, to be honest, but I knew I wasn't going any other way, right? I would have stayed to that tether, even though I was unhappy.
Well, I think we have to listen to the voices inside our head sometimes, or the
not all of them.
I think we have to listen to the things that happen around us and look at what is the world trying to tell me. So the world was telling me that, you can move somewhere else in Hershey, or you can go do JLA the way you want to.
Right.
I had two choices. Right? Thank God I made the right choice. Mm-hmm. I think that's super, super, super scary. I think it's actually easier for people to just get fired, right? Just get fired. Right. Getting fired forces you to go do something else immediately.
Sure.
And I've got buddies at Hershey that, they're still going through restructures. They do one every year or two. And boy, you're 55, 56 years old. You've been selling chocolate for 30 years and you get let go. Life's not good. Right.
Where do you even really go? Is there other chocolatiers, other chocolate
they all seem to end up well. There's a lot of consumer product goods, and a lot of them are finding their way somewhere, but it's super scary.
Right.
Because a lot of us are waiting later in life to have kids. I'm 43 with a 6-year-old.
Right.
Well, at 55, I'm still going to have an 18-year-old. I don't want to get let go. Like, what do you do? Right?
Dude, I'm 48 with a 7-year-old.
That says a lot. I'm not even going to go there. So it is all about being true to yourself and figuring out how you're going to get out. A lot of people ask me, how do you get out of corporate America? I want out of corporate America. And that's a whole other show we'll get into.
Right.
But getting out of corporate America is finding out who you are and really making a solid decision as a family that we're going to do this.
So let me throw this curve at you. So not everybody maybe has the entrepreneurial drive, but they don't want to be in corporate America either. And they have a passion to be that carpenter or mechanic. So do they go work for the gas monkey guy that we mentioned last show, or do they go build surfboards for somebody else's shop because they've got that talent?
I think it's almost a progression out of there, right? If they've got a talent and a love, and we'll use Gas Monkey, for instance, we'll give those guys a little plug here. I've been watching that show for years, and when it first started, they had a guy on there whose right-hand man was Aaron Kaufman. I think that's his last name. He had a big, long beard, kind of a neat guy. He was his head guy. Mm-hmm. For years, they ran this together, and for years, they built cars together. And just last night, I was watching, I think it was the Discovery Channel. Now, Aaron Kaufman has his own show.
Oh, nice.
He split off from Gas Monkey. Now he has his own show. Mm-hmm. Well, he got there by moving his way through the Gas Monkey and Richard Rollins and the Gas Monkey into Aaron Kaufman and his own company. And I love to watch those things happen.
I didn't realize that show was still.
Oh yeah, it's still
new episodes.
It's still new. It looks like there's still new episodes, or maybe I'm just watching reruns and I love it so much. I don't know.
Does he still have his pub and grill in Dallas?
He still has his pub and grill. I noticed. He even has his own monster truck at the Monster Jam stuff. Like he's built a complete brand out of Gas Monkey.
Yes.
Yeah, Gas Monkey's a brand now, and I would love to know what kind of money that thing's worth, right? What kind of money is the Gas Monkey brand?
He did sit down and speak with Gary Vee not too long ago. Did you see that?
No, I missed that.
Gary Vee interviewed him. Yeah.
Interesting. So I think he started building cars in like 2002. I think he opened the Gas Monkey shop in 2002.
Right.
So he's put his time in to get here, and started a whole new revolution. It's kind of like HGTV. I remember when HGTV wasn't anything,
Right,
and now
right.
it's the same. I think Richard Rollins and Gas Monkey was one of the original ones. Car shows on, and they've built this, and now there's tons of copycats, and there's there's all kinds of. I'm not going to say copycats. It's just others that are expanding on that. Yeah.
Right.
But if you have a passion to do something besides sit at a desk, there's nothing wrong with going and fulfilling that.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing where life takes you. Not everybody wants to go out here and start their own construction company or their own mechanic shop or all that. I got into real estate on the side. I was still with Hershey building my real estate business.
Right.
So when the time came, I was able to get out. And I highly recommend that. For those of you listening and you want to get out of your day job, boy, if you can start that thing on the side and get your side hustle on and grow it, first, it lets you know if you love it. Second, it lets you know if you're ever going to make any money at it. And third, whenever corporate comes and says, we're done with you, you got a backup plan.
Got a backup. So Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about your 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. And I'll be honest, that's something I struggle with because that's sort of my downtime. And that needs to be more my hustle time. And I think if you're doing something during the day and you want that out, just like you're saying, you've got to put in that extra time to figure out what it's going to be.
So some people have been asking me recently, how'd you get here? And I'm not going to claim to be the smartest guy. I'm not going to claim to be the most educated guy, but I'm going to outwork you. And I found that I could put in 40 hours with Hershey, and then I could turn right around and put in another 6 to 8 hours a night for myself. Right. And that's how we got here. And my buddies at Hershey laugh about this because we would go to national meetings or training meetings, and we're in Scottsdale, Arizona, or we're in Vegas. We used to go to Vegas all the time. Boy, as soon as dinner was done, John was out of there.
Right.
And they all thought I was just this antisocial jerk because I didn't hang out with them. I didn't go do the things they did after hours.
Right.
I was back building my business in the hotel room because I had things to do.
And they were in the hotel lounge.
And they were in the hotel lounge having drinks on Hershey, which is a great time, right? I mean, they're enjoying themselves.
Sure.
And it's a sacrifice. That's a huge sacrifice. And I missed out on some fun in places like Vegas and Scottsdale and New Orleans because I was building my business. But now I can take those trips by myself and I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
So the hours in the day, that 7 to 2, there's a lot of business done during those hours. And the society we live in today, we got a lot of working moms. So they cook dinner and they put their kids to bed and they start working at 8 o'clock at night. It's when it happens. Right. So it's finding your passion. I think if you're passionate about something and you work hard at it, you'll find the time.
You'll find the time, and it won't seem like you're having to take the time. It's just sort of natural. Right?
Yeah, it does. It comes together. Let's talk about you for a minute. I know your past. I know how you got here. And you're finding your voice. You know who you are.
Sure.
But what do you want to be? Where do you think you're going to go with this thing, brother?
That's a deep question. With Hustle City, with media
with
stuff,
Hustle City, I again, we talked about it last show when I met you 10, 15 years ago. You had on a suit and short hair. And, the guy sitting across from me now has got on, jeans and a crazy shirt, and his hair keeps getting longer. He's going for the Richard Branson look, which I'm a little jealous of. If I tried to grow my hair out like that, it would be curly. And it would just get curlier and curlier and curlier, and I'd have like an afro.
So here's the funny thing about that before I answer your question. So the dude's hairstylist basically told me, hey, just, I'm going to keep cutting it for you, and you just keep putting pomade in it and pushing it back, and it'll grow. Well, it's been windy the past few days, right? So I get out in the wind, and it starts flying around like Trump's.